It's now widely accepted that by 2030, mobility, especially in large urban areas, will be dramatically different from today. With transport seamlessly connecting people's lives, consumers will be able to get from A to B in a way which is cheaper, cleaner, safer. And our journeys will change to become productive and entertaining extensions of our day-to-day routines. With segments of the population, such as the young and the elderly, set to benefit from wider access. Let's have a look at just how the future might look. Instead of paying separately for fuel, tickets and travel cards, consumers will be able to buy integrated mobility contracts from new and different service providers. Not only will these providers benefit from a much wider sales opportunity, but the experience for the consumer will be easier and more joined up. Indeed, the concept of personally owning a vehicle and having to have a driving license to operate one may become redundant too. So that soon, the way a car functions will be unrecognizable. Electric, powered, autonomous, driverless, shared. A fully functioning digital environment.
Hi, Henry.
Hi, Katie. Ready for school?
A place of work. And a place to play. And with new entrants developing technology such as kinetic energy road harvesting, businesses are set to gain further from new revenue opportunities. New and previously unthinkable collaborations in and between sectors, not just how a car looks, but how it functions. And even when your car does malfunction, it will no longer need breakdown recovery to get it back on the road. The way we use public mobility will change too. Workspace. Whether passengers want to prepare for that 9 o'clock meeting, a bit of me time, or simply want filtered clean air. And when our cars are connected seamlessly to our digital selves, they'll be able to help coordinate our day-to-day lives and keep us fit and healthy too.
Morning, Henry.
Straight to golf, George.
Yes, please. Though I need to speak to the GP on the way. Holoport her in, will you?
Hello, George.
Hi, Alice. All fit and healthy, I assume?
I'm afraid not, George. Your blood pressure is above 140.
So no golf?
No, you'll just need to pick up your meds from the pharmacist beforehand.
And with the car able to place orders and send instructions, customers can pick up their prescriptions and the rest of their shopping seamlessly. Of course, this is just one version of the future. What is certain is that we are at the beginning of a truly transformational journey. We will see shifts in traditional business models. We expect to see two very different business archetypes existing side by side. So-called metalsmiths will continue to follow the current model of manufacturing ever more sophisticated hardware, the cars themselves. Meanwhile, an all-new archetype, the Gridmaster, will arise. The successful Gridmaster is not only a vehicle manufacturer, they also provide the platform for a variety of customer services. This means as well as seamless travel from A to B, they can offer consumer-centric products and services by harvesting and using data at the customer interface. While each archetype will compete against a very different group of players, both will have an important role to play. By 2030, a new mobility services segment worth well over $1 trillion will emerge from products and services related to autonomy, mobility, and connectivity. We believe that future success will only come through an unprecedented degree of collaboration and through design and thinking across government and business. The future is exciting. The details are yet to be worked out. And collectively, we can build our model of mobility 2030.
Let's jump into today's deep dive. Jasmy. Smash it like if you haven't done so already. This is the Jasmy program you're looking for. Boom, here it is. Let's start off with this particular intro. So shout out to Long On Jasmy. I just recently followed this individual. You can as well. Look at what is mentioned here. If you need to be reminded of how early we are into Jasmy, consider this. The stated KPI for customers and confirmed by Hara, as we know, the head honcho of Jasmy, is 107 million people worldwide. So as much as I've said, you know, in Japan and with Jasmy, they're doing this, that, and this, and there's a lot of focus on Japan, right? Understand that they do see a more broader expansion, if you will. So look at this. It says based on CMC estimates, today's holders are roughly about 50,000, and that's in the first 0.046%. Now, on top of that, even all the people watching Jasmy based on current CMC watch list, which is 118,000, give or take, only make up about 0.11% of potential Jasmy holders. There are more likely more, but the point is, like he says, you know, we are so incredibly early. Now, what the heck is KPI if you're new to crypto? Well, here at CTN, we're not just about news. We're also keeping you informed of some of the terminology. So in regards to KPI, right, it says the discipline required for success in a crypto project is identifying which, here's a definition, key performance indicators, KPI, are most important. The core purpose of the project, its scale, and your end goals are just a few of the basically different variables, right, and how to track it. So for people wondering, you know, man, I'm new to crypto, there's so many abbreviations, boom, there you go. Let's jump also into this, and this is a main part of our outline for tonight, and Iceberg Smith is caught up on this. It was kind of last minute. I thought it was big. So when I released that thing about the Jasmy bombshell, WITs being revealed, right, and basically we saw on an actual office window, the small letters, you saw Jasmy, right, and that was a big moment for a lot of us because it was confirmation that, you know, WITs is in fact involved with Jasmy, and it even said PDL, personal data locker, and all that stuff was like feel good moments and so on. Well, shout out to this guy. His name is JB, and he's a fellow deep diver. I've gone ahead and followed him. Brand new guy, but you appreciate the passion. He has a whole outline that we're going to get into tonight for the Jasmy coverage. And it says in today's thread, he will go over one of the key players in Jasmy's various collaborations, which is this partnership with WITs. And we're going to get into some of the other ones, right? So he states, what is WITs? And of course, we're going to jump into that here in a second. But if you're wondering, the quick gist of it before we load up this information, it says they are software engineering services. They have development and simulation technology for autonomous driving and safety. Of course, we feature them many times, right? They have embedded devices, software security, mobility as a service, which is referred to as MAAS. And from here on out throughout our coverage tonight, we're just going to mention that. They have some main products, which are these, right? And these are all Japanese focused companies and organizations, Tisawit, SXIM, War XSS, and SF Twin. We have featured some of the information here. Now, when we pull up this other particular page, and I'm going to give Sean definitely a chance to tune into this. This is the interpretation, obviously, from Japanese to English, right? This is actually WITs, okay? They have a company profile and so on. And we're going to get into some of the key things in regards to Jasmy, but we just wanted to show you this right here. I'm going to jump back into here. Sean, you know, when you saw this on this particular deep dive, you mentioned that, I believe you said Tisawit was one of the main partnerships that you were going to cover when you decided to do an update.
Yeah, so that's actually going to be the next video. I was looking at that, and here's the exciting part about Jasmy, right? And if you read any or listen to any of my content, I'm a maxi of utility, you know, real world utility. And so Tisawit, you know, the SX, I can't speak, SXIM, the one right underneath that, right? And how they go together, and how this solves real world issues. And there's some positives and some negatives to it, right? It depends on how you look at it and kind of where you're from in the world. So, and we'll get into some of that. We'll discuss some of that a little later on. But yeah, that's kind of where I come from. That's kind of the, you know, why I like Jasmy. I'm not a Jasmy expert by any stretch, but I'm working on it. So hopefully, in the next couple of Jasmy videos, you know, I can do some real deep dives and I can be like Max, because Max does excellent deep dive coverage on a lot of these projects. So I'm going to start working on that as well. So yeah, getting these things that are solving real world issues, real world utility out there in the real world, and I can see those services being utilized in a lot of real big city, venue type areas, and we'll discuss that here in a second.
Yeah, we're definitely going to discuss it here in a second. Before we get more into this particular outline, I just want to re-advise people to smash that like. All right, let's jump back into our outline. So I want to show you guys just a little bit more in regards to this, because I mean, there's a lot of focus on this, and for some of the technical savvy people, maybe you appreciate it, and for some of the people who are just like, I don't get it. It's okay. We'll get into all of it. So here's the thing, right? So we mentioned, what is WITS and so on, right? And then of course there's some main products, right? Which are the ones that you see here. And I'm going to jump down to this particular part. It says, how did Jasmy form a partnership? And for a lot of people, when we saw the leak of, the WITS thing is a real thing. It's not speculative. It's more to it than just, Jasmy and PDL written on a window at a WITS office, right? So this is why I really appreciate people who take the extra deep dives. Okay, so this guy states that back in June of 2020, the alliance was announced around WITS's MAAS, which we're going to call it just MASH from here on out, due to their synergies. Now, we're going to pull that link up in a second, but their collaboration was surrounding an early proof of concept around smart cities. So when I pulled this up earlier, it comes up with this right here, and I'm just going to take a moment for it to interpret from Japanese to English. Now you're going to see some typos, basically, like they're going to spell it as Witz, kind of like, the Germans do, they, like my local, Wiener Schnitzel, it's not Wiener Schnitzel, they call it Wiener Schnitzel. Anyway, so here, basically, from Google Translate, it's going to say Witz. So in reality, it's Witz. So it says announcement of alliance, right? Back in June 18th of 2020. And I'm going to blow this up a little more because I know it's probably hard for you guys to see this. So let's make it a little bit bigger. There we go. And this consistently mentions Jasmy. So guys, I just want to state flat out, right? We went from a leak to confirmed information right here. That's big. Very, very big. I'm going to show you how many times this mentions specifically Jasmy. And that's one of the key things. So right here, it mentions, that back in roughly June 2020, that you had this whole thing with WITS, and they partnered in business and so on. Recognizes Jasmy, company that utilizes blockchain technology to realize data democratization. Again, we know about some of these specific things, right? But when we get down to the part in regards to WITS specifically, notice what's mentioned right here. It says it's necessary to collect and analyze big data such as user activity in order to provide new services that are useful for living with the community-based towns Maas. And we're going to keep reiterating, because that has a lot to do with smart cities, the tracking of data with autonomous vehicles, so on and so forth. And you got to keep in mind, in Japan, a lot of these cities are really, going towards this. We might not agree with it here in the United States, but that's a reality over in Southeast Asia, Asia Pacifico areas, and so on, right? So they plan to utilize, like it says right here, Jasmy's a blockchain technology for data collection and analysis that protects personal information. Again, you got to keep in mind, whole different mindset over there compared to here with our social media platforms. We just freely give away our data without even realizing that that's the price we paid for these supposedly free services, if you get what I'm saying. It says, in the future, in order to jointly provide new services such as MAAS, we will jointly promote social implementation and a demonstration of experiments, as well as cooperation in R&D. Now, Sean, what I was going to ask you is, I'm sure at some point you read up, obviously, on data democratization, your video about how Jasmy is looking to take away from big data is big because you get the whole thing of personal data lockers and so on. But what was your key takeaway when you jumped more into, for instance, this whole thing with WITS and connecting the dots?
Well, so first of all, you're right, and that's part of the bad thing, right? If we live in the U.S., right, we're not, number one, we're so I guess we're idealized in that we want to protect our data, our personal data. However, we also just freely put it out there to everybody so everybody can see. So we have a kind of a dilemma here, and we're gonna talk more of that a little bit later on the negatives of it. But Maas, mobility as a service, and them building into the Jasmy platform, you got data collection, and then you've got kind of the parsing off of the personal data that shouldn't be out there, right? And then you get your own personal data locker. You get to decide, what data is released, when it's released, who's released to, and then maybe you can benefit from that somehow, monetarily, using their token. But I really love the fact that they're getting into this Maas, and it makes sense in Japan because the autonomous vehicles, or you're going to have, let's see, in a crowded space like Japan and China, I imagine would love to use this kind of technology if they're not already maybe building their own, where you can kind of centralize a transport system, basically transport type companies together in services where you can have like a single access point for users to get on and plan a route wherever they're going, and it updates the route for you, right? It plans everything. There's one ticket to be purchased. And it basically gives you all of your the information where you're stopping, when it's coming back through, kind of a maybe a data-driven, public transportation, if you will, right? So, which is why I think it's really going to be big in Japan and other places like that that really are very crowded, and I don't want to say overpopulated, but they're very crowded. It may not work too well in rural areas, obviously, but when you're in the city and you need that kind of stuff, maybe for the elderly who have trouble getting around, it's going to basically do all of that work for them to make sure they need to get to where they're going.
And another beautiful thing I like about it is, with all the criticism, and rightfully so, of like what's going on with China, where they just basically, they don't give nobody an option when it comes to data democratization. Are you kidding me? It's like you got all these cameras focused on everything that these people are doing. They're already plugged in, obviously, to their phones, all that stuff. So they already have monetized or seized their data completely, right?
So that's
they're in
right.
control of that.
Right. There's the big difference between those two systems. They're both collecting all of the data it can, right? All your personal data, all of your daily activity data, kind of compiling all that, but it's sectioning off the personal stuff that you don't want out there, right? For Jasmy, China doesn't care, right? They're taking all of that information. They're going to do whatever the heck they want with it, and you have literally no choice. But they're also used to that, so they're not really complaining about it. To them, they see it as a benefit, right? Well, we're the government's going to take care of us. We're safer. There's so many cameras everywhere, so crime is less and all that kind of stuff. So but the big part is that data democratization, where you get control of your data, right? And you don't in other parts of the world.
Right. And we're going to get more into the specific outline just a little bit here in a bit. As you guys can see right here, it says, Jasmy will integrate blockchain technology into its Internet of Things and prepare a platform that can be widely used beyond the boundaries of industries, and also industries based on unprecedented ideas. Jasmy's team consists of members with diverse and even rich experience in electronics. Perfect example, we have former executives that were part of Sony, and I think that's always going to be a real, I guess you could say, leg up that they're going to have compared to other industries, to help them get the job done quicker, if you will. I mean, that is nothing to dismiss there. Sony is huge.
Yeah.
On top of that, like this closing comment, it says they will provide IoT platform that is optimal, excuse me, for each customer around the world. So there's a lot when it comes to this whole thing with WITS, right? And so I'm going to go further down here, but here's the thing, guys. As you can see here, right, Draw your attention. You don't even have to understand Japanese to connect the dots here. Like it says, wits, shared experience in mobility. You could literally see a smart city being listed here. And the reason we want to bring this to some of your attention is because, that's something that we consistently do when it comes to our research. Whether your XRP man, right? Shout out to him. He connects dots. We connect the dots. It doesn't matter if it's Jasmy, Quant, XRP, and so on. The key thing is putting it all together with the research and drawing a conclusion of, is that risk to reward ratio? Is there something solid here? I feel like consistently something is very, very solid for Jasmy. When we had the whole debate of, we want to see the United States embrace innovation, you don't really see that, right? Especially when it comes to blockchain, distributed ledger technology. Japan, on the other hand, and I think for the most part, Iceberg Smith and I can agree on this. Japan, on the other hand, they're like totally opposite type of attitude. They embrace crypto. Recently, you had that Web3 white paper introduced, and on top of that, tax incentives for businesses to embrace and expand into IoT or distributed ledger technologies, crypto-related projects. So slashing taxes, embracing crypto. Sean, I mean, God, this would be a dream come true here in the United States.
Well, I don't know. I mean, obviously, the differences between the two countries. Japan is really purpose built, for this kind of thing, for a smart city, right? And I'm excited to see smart cities, even though I understand the negative that goes along with it, right? Everything has to be integrated, right? Your privacy pretty much goes to zero or near zero, right? You basically, whatever you do inside of your bedroom might be the only thing that's private, if you live in one of these integrated cities, because you're going to have companies like WITS, and they're going to have software out there that is watching you. AI, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't get into AI as well, or maybe they're already into AI, but they're going to be noticing patterns, right? Because they have to integrate transportation. They have to integrate the people walking, from place to place, crowd control, which we're going to get into in a second here. So everything has to be integrated. And so the computer, right, the AI, whoever's running the show, has to know everything about everything. And it's going to be all done real time, and things are going to have to change on the fly if there's, a group of people in an area that's not really designed for that group. So they're going to have to kind of, crowd control people coming and going, just the same with traffic. So it's, eating habits, everything gets analyzed and put into this data set. And that's how a smart city is going to exist. And you're going to have to be okay with that. Right. And like I said, I think it's super cool. It's a great idea. And it's probably going to all be that way at some point, in the future. But yeah, you're going to have to give up some of that privacy that we really love here in the US.
Well, as the saying goes, I mean, privacy for security, and then to a sense, that's also, giving up some of your freedom.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, whether you want to agree that with, I don't know. I mean, that's a long debate in itself. But I do get where you're coming from. Me personally, it's like I look at like Los Angeles, right? Last time I was there, I mean, I used to go out there to LA like every year. And one of my biggest gripes was, hey, LA, fun town, lots to do, obviously. But the traffic sucks. It's some of the worst traffic like in the world. Well, could they basically, take notes when it comes to smart cities and so on? Yeah. How many people would be on board for it? I don't know. It's a different mindset, like you mentioned,
Yeah. Well, and trying to integrate an already overcrowded, area like Los Angeles and the county there, it would be difficult, I think, and it would take years and years to try to implement something, because you would have to figure out what's the optimal number of people to live in a certain amount of space in order to make it efficient, right? You can't just jam, unlimited numbers of people in that area. I think, I don't know, what is it, 15 million people live in the county or in the city. It's a lot, right? So there would have to be major changes. It would be easier to develop into an up and coming area, right? Maybe a medium-sized city in Japan, that's kind of poised to jump on board and has no problems with it, right? In LA, you're going to get pushback. So you're going to have years of meetings and protests and, trying to get candidates on board, to push that down the road. So that's it's going to be a struggle, like I said, here in the U.S.
Yeah, I see all that happening basically. All right, so let's kick it a little bit more into what we have here. So in regards to some of the things we we're talking about earlier in regards to Maas, right? It says promoting the creation of new regional Maas demonstration areas selected for FY 2020 Smart Mobility Challenge. Again, this is, a blast of the past, but it gives you an idea about some of this. So, again, connecting the dots. So it says the Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry, and the Ministry of Land Infrastructure, Transport and Tourism, obviously, right? But all these things that we're mentioning completely tie into the significance of having something that's going to track data. Is Jasmy going to be the one to get it done? Well, in my opinion, there's enough evidence to show that. But again, if you're new to all this stuff, it's part of the particular outline. So it says by conducting, look what it says here, a demonstration experience and business feasibility analyzes of new, again, it's not perfect English, right? But it says of new mobility services in each region, extracting best practice and sorting out cross-sectional issues. Kind of a reiteration of what Sean was saying. You're going to have some cities where this makes more sense. There might be some towns, right, not quite full city status, where it might make a little bit more sense compared to the next one. But they had some demonstrations of how this all broke down with Smart Mobility Challenge. Again, we can't read all this in Japanese, but it gives you an idea of just like what they're looking to basically do with some of the technology in regards to Internet of Things, right? That's one of the key things I want to point out. As we get further down into this, it has this right here, right? Inquiries about the Smart Mobility Challenge Ministry. You can look at more of the PDF, but we're going to jump into the next part of what we have. We're just kind of reiterating and showing you the actual proof, because sometimes, let's face it, I mean, anybody can do a deep dive and claim that they have some. So one thing I really like about this guy, GB, is he has all the sources to go with this, right? Very, very cool stuff. So we're going to jump down to the next part. And I believe it's this right here. Give me just a second. And so as I'm pulling that up, you're going to see this in regards to smart cities. And all right, now it's interpreted. So this again was a blast from the past. Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry. And again, think about it. It's a whole outline. You want to connect the dots. You want to see something solid here. I believe there really is something solid here, to say the least, right? Actually, I think I already pulled that one up. My bad. So let me pull up this other one. Excuse me. So we're going to jump down to this one right here, and we'll blow that up a little bit. So it says, why Jasmy and WITS formed the partnership. That's the key thing, right? So if you saw the leak of, them writing it out on the particular window, all that stuff is big, but at the end of the day, why do they basically make the partnership? Great question. So WITS and Jasmy have many synergies, and both align with the overall main goal of mobility as a service, aka Maas, which provides a smarter way for companies, products, softwares to contribute to personalized user experience and transit. By having something like Jasmy's personal data locker part of the mix, to me, again, other technologies, Internet of Things, it works side by side, but in a collaborative group, a partnership. So why is this so important? Great question. This concept will contribute to further societies, right? 5.0 and quote unquote smart cities. As in this case, WITS products are built surrounding this idea and overall goal to be the leader and choice for others to access and build upon their ecosystem, in part growing Jasmy.
Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you have not yet subscribed, do yourself a favor and subscribe for more information on the ISO 222 compliant tokens, and hit the notification bell to make sure that you are aware of the new videos when they come up. Max and I cover these ISOs, and we also have a live show every single night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure you tune in for that. You won't want to miss it. Thanks again, and we will see you on the next video.